Hi. Very good morning to you watching wherever you're watching me from. I'd like you to indicate if you're joining the class this morning. Let's know you're joining the class. It's 10 o'clock. And 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, we go to class and we discuss public speaking. I'd like to begin my presentation, or what I'll be sharing today, with words of Daniel Webster. Daniel Webster says, and I'd like you to just pay attention to this because it's very striking what he said. He said, if all my powers and talents were taken from me by some inscrutable providence, and I had my choice of keeping but one, I would unhesitantly ask to be allowed to keep the power of speaking, for through it I would quickly recover the rest. Hi life kids with us, nice to know you all here. I wave back at you. Amazing. Alright, so Daniel Webster is saying, take everything away from me, but please do not take away my ability to speak. Because if I can speak, I can recover the influence, I can recover anything that I've lost, I can recover power, I can recover influence, I can recover authority. Your greatest social intelligence, what shows the world that you are socially intelligent, is the very fact that you, pay attention now, is the very fact that you can speak in public. Anekan Ukpabio, it's nice to meet you. I'm waving back at you too. It's good to know you're in class. So today we'll talk about public speaking. Make sure that you're doing a watch party. You can share the watch party. Let's learn about public speaking. I think public speaking is the second most important skill in the world. And oftentimes when I say, oh, public speaking is second most important skill, public speaking is second most important skill in life, people often ask me, so what is the first most important skill? Would you want to know the first most important skill in life? Perhaps I should just tell you, so that you know that if public speaking or communication generally is the second most important skill, so what is the first most important skill every man, every woman who's going to be a master, who's going to be successful will have? I'll tell you. I choose to coin the word visioneering. If you want to write the word down, if you're an engineer, you get to just add E-E-R-I-N-G, visioneering. V-I-S-I-O-N-E-E-R-I-N-G, the engineering of your vision, the ability to take whatever you see in your mind or in your head and then bring them to reality. It's actually a very heckling task to move the thoughts that you have in your head and bring them to reality. The actualization process is heckling. It's incredible. People who can move their thoughts, their ideas, their concepts, their vision from their head, their businesses, from their ministries, from their head to their hands to reality, they are amazing people. They are really, really amazing people. And so visioneering is the first skill that masters have. Visioneering is the first skill that great people have. And that skill moves things from your head to your hand, converts mind, what is in your mind, to your hand, what are thoughts into things, what are virtual into actual. It's important you know that. Now, the second most important skill in life is communication skill, your ability to communicate. And when we talk about communication, we're looking at two essential things. First, we're looking at your ability to persuade people. And that will come in handy as a parent, as a lover, in business, in leadership. And the second most important communication skill that is in that communication component is what we call negotiation. So you persuade and you negotiate. And negotiation will help you as a marketer. So the second most important skill in life is your ability to communicate. Communicate not effectively. If you don't communicate effectively, you are going to lose out on a whole lot. And so today we'll be talking about a part of communication. And that part of communication we're talking about is public speaking. Standing in front of a crowd, 2, 3, 4, and sharing your precious thoughts. That's what we're going to be learning today. And today we'll be focusing on debunking certain myths surrounding public speaking. certain myths that surround public speaking. What are the myths? What are those misconceptions? What a myth is an untrue thing, an untrue reality, but that is generally believed. People believe it generally, but it is totally untrue. And that's what the myth is. So what are the myths surrounding public speaking that you should be aware of? And when you are aware of them, you can now begin to see how you better position yourself as a public speaker. Let me make a few announcements before I go on to share the myths. Now, on a few days from now, I'll be confirming the date, but I'm sure it's before the end of the month, before the end of this month. A few days from now, we'll be doing what we call a Zoom class, and that Zoom class will be showing people how to overcome stage fright, how they can knock out or reduce the intensity of the stage fright that they have. And I want you to be part of it. All you simply have to do is click on the WhatsApp link, which I'm going to be sharing after this class. You click on the WhatsApp link, it will take you to a group, and then you make findings. You're supposed to make a certain amount of payment. Once you make that payment, you'll be given a membership ID, and then you become part of that class. You can be part of that Zoom class. It will open your minds to the science of self-confidence. It will open your minds to knowing how you can be confident 24/7. You know how to get yourself started anytime. You know the principles of anchoring, how to stand on any stage at any time to develop confidence, and that is very key. So overcoming, we call stage fright glossophobia. And every time I have cause to speak with people, a majority of the time they tell me, oh, I have a problem with dealing with stage fright. I have something to say, I have content, I have a lot to say, but I have a problem with stage fright. When I have a conversation with you, I'm good. When I stay with people who I'm familiar with, I'm good. But the moment I go to a crowd that I'm not aware of, I go in front of people that I'm not sure of, I begin to sweat, I begin to have sweaty palms, I begin to have sweaty face, if I'm a fair person, I become redder. If my knees begin to knock, I become nervous, I have incoherent voice, my voice, I begin to stammer. If you were a stammerer before, because of that glossophobia, that disease, you begin to stammer, and then you cannot deliver as you're supposed to deliver. I mean, I've had cause to work with even lecturers, and you see lecturers, professors of universities, they will highlight, George, I have this issue. And I'm saying, but you're a lecturer, you speak to people on a regular basis, say yes. But if you look at me very carefully, I'm not as confident when I go for functions, conferences, workshops, summits. I have that same issue. Again and again, people complain about stage fright, and you need to deal with it. It will surprise you to know that growing up as a child, I was a terribly shy person. By nature, I'm an introvert. By nature. Because of the kind of work I do today, I have to meet people, I have to interact, I have to market. So of course now I have to, and some people say George is an extrovert, an introvert. No, he's an extrovert because of the way I relate to people. But by nature, I'm inside, I'm withdrawn, I like to be reserved, I like to do my thing. But by learning, and so when I was given the opportunity, my parents ran a school those days. When I was given the opportunity to speak in different platforms, I would always be worried. I would get angry with my parents. Why would they put me in front of a crowd? And that was a major issue for me. However, as I grew up, I started to learn a whole lot. I began to learn stuff. I began to learn the principles, the techniques, the ideas that would help me to become a better speaker. And trust me, it turned my life around. Today, I speak in front of thousands of people. I've traveled around the world. I've earned from speaking, and I can speak anywhere and deliver top-notch speeches because I learned how. So there's a how to public speaking. And what we want to do in that event, in that Zoom class, is to show you the how. You see, you need strategy. Strategy will save you from the stress. Strategy will save you from the stress of glossophobia. You need to know how. I'm going to be putting the WhatsApp link later. You click on it, you will learn. Let me shock you. You will learn stuff you've never known before. You learn about biochemicals. You learn how to move your body, how to use your body, what to say, how to say. Several techniques that, we've done a lot of research on this that can help you, so that if you have a speaking engagement by the following day after that class, you can immediately use those techniques, and just by using those techniques, get quick in coping and clearing out any form of glossophobia. Because you see, glossophobia is a psychological disorder, yeah. People have public speaking as a major issue. So there are a lot of psychological techniques that people have put together. I'm not the one that put those things together. Put together, and you can use them to get yourself better. The challenge is you don't know how. So I'd like you to be part of it. And that class, I think for the Zoom class, is 2,000 naira. It's very affordable. What will it cost? 2,000 naira to learn how to overcome stage fright. And just by learning how to overcome stage fright, you can earn much more. You can become more influential and so on. Alright, so that's the class. I'll give other announcements at the end of this brief session, but I wanted to put that at the back of your mind. If you've been suffering from stage fright, welcome to your last bus stop. We'll show you very practical things you can do immediately, and you start getting ultimate results. Because we're combining psychology, and we're also combining neuro-linguistic programming techniques to use on your stage fright issue and get it out or reduce it. Actually, you really cannot reduce, you cannot terminate fear or nervousness, but you can reduce it to a minimum stage. So let's look at some myths that people have about public speaking, and those myths are terrible. Those myths are really terrible, and they hinder people. They even contribute to people's stage fright. One of them. The first one is that you have to be flawless. That you have to be perfect. You have to be perfect for you to speak. Zero, wrong, error. It's a myth. You do not have to be perfect for you to speak. Again, write that down as you note. You don't have to be perfect for you to speak. Perfection does not exist in public speaking. You will make some error. I mean, you see, public speaking, you're not expected. I told my students, you're not expected to be perfect in your presentation. You're only expected to be better. You're only expected to be better. So you do it the first time, you didn't get it very right the first time, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. As you do it again and again, you get perfected. You get better, not perfect, because there's truly nobody who can be perfect in public speaking. So being flawless is a myth. Perfection does not exist. I'll give you a second myth that a lot of people have about public speaking, and it's a terrible myth. It's something that is very common among even my students when I get them to do stuff. That you have to memorize your speech. So I give my student a presentation. Go do this presentation. They begin to write out the stuff, because usually when we do classes, I'll tell them, make sure you submit your script, submit your speech. That's to help them do their speech writing well. Submit your speech, and then do your presentation. And the presentation can be for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Now, so what most of them will do, they'll write the entire speech, and then they'll attempt to memorize everything. And then when they come on the stage or the platform to speak, and for us to assess them, because we always assess them and give them a review, when they come to do it, they forget their lines and they become agitated, they become worried as they stand on stage. You are not supposed to memorize your speech. Great speeches are not memorized. They are not memorized. What you should rather do is capture the high points, the points, and internalize. You're supposed to internalize. To internalize means that whatever it is you're saying should be part of you. And I often will tell students or people who want to speak, don't speak on a subject matter you don't know. There is something about knowing your subject matter that gives you confidence. There's something about knowing what you're talking about that gives you a certain level of confidence. I mean, back in those days when we were kids, when we were in university, some almost 20 years ago. Yeah, it's almost 20 years. Can you imagine that? It's almost 20 years since we left university. But back then when we were in university, this is what used to happen. We prepare for an examination, and we're so read, we've read so well, we've covered all the points, we've covered all the angles, and then we get to the exam hall, and usually you have this level of confidence. In fact, you don't want to look at anybody. Anybody who looks at you say, I beg, just mind your business. You are taking down because you have a certain level of confidence that is associated with being prepared. You didn't have to, sometimes you memorize, you didn't have to memorize everything, you just capture all the points, you know how to express yourself, and you go ahead and do. So do not memorize your speech. What you should rather internalize, have a mastery of the subject you're talking about, and it will help you a whole lot. Does it make sense? All right. Now, this is another very strong myth that people have about public speaking that is wrong. Have you heard this before? That when you're speaking in front of a crowd, especially for those who are afraid, when you're speaking in front of a crowd, that you should look at the heads of people. Don't look at the eyes of people. Look at the heads of people. Say, no, no. Anyone who taught you that taught you in error. Tell him to come and meet George AC and to teach him public speaking properly. You are not supposed to look at the head, because you see, communication begins with connection. The moment you do not connect with the audience, for whatever reason, you lose them. And so looking at their heads is a no-no. At their heads is a no-no. You've got to establish contact with your eyes. I'm going to talk about the eyes in a short while, but let me just talk about it right now. You see, the eye is a mirror to the soul. The eye is a mirror to the soul. The eye mirrors our emotions. When we look at people, we can read whether they are paying attention to what we're saying, or whether they understand, or whether they assimilate what we're talking about when we look at the eyes of people. Just as much as when they look at our eyes, they can identify, they can know whether we are connecting with them, whether we're passing across a message, or whether we're being sincere or not. Because you can look at the person and know a person's sincerity or not. The eyes is that powerful. It mirrors our emotions. Really mirrors our emotions. And we talk about a lot about it in neuro-linguistic programming, and we talk a lot about it even in psychology, that learn to look at people's eyes. So you establish contact with your audience, and the idea basically is that as you establish contact with your audience, you're looking out for friendly faces. You're also looking out to read the audience and to know whether they are connecting with you. So looking at the head is a no-no. In the same vein, you don't want your eyes to dart around the room. To dart around the room means you begin to just scan, or you have lazy eye contact. No, you want to establish healthy, loving eye contact with you. Just as you read the audience with your eyes, you can also communicate value and communicate your message through your eyes. You know, one French philosopher once said that there is as much eloquence in your words as there in your eyes. You don't know how powerful your eyes are. You really don't know how powerful your eyes, especially in communication. And when we talk about communication, we're looking at verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Now, verbal communication, interestingly, only constitutes 7% of the influence you have on people. So as we're communicating right now, the words I'm saying constitute only 7%, and that is remarkable. But guess what? 38% of what you're saying comes from your tone, how you sound. And 55% of what you are not saying, or what your communication, comes from your body language, the way you use your hands, speak with your face, and your eye contact. In body language classification, aside your appearance and the movement of your body, one other thing that we pay attention to is the way you use your eyes. Now, you want to write this down. Your eyes have eloquence. The French philosopher says that there was as much eloquence in the air around you, in the movement of your body, in the eye that you use to communicate, as in the words that you speak. So you see, folks, I mean, for those of us who are married, if your wife is trying to communicate with you, your visitors in the room, in the sitting room, and she's trying to communicate with you, she could also do some eye movement, and then you get it quickly. So looking at the heads of the audience and no is a myth. Don't do that. Establish eye contact with the audience. And I'll shock you about speaking. The truth is that not everybody wants to harm you as a speaker. When you look at people and you think, oh, they want to throw bananas at you, or they want to throw tomatoes at you. But if you begin to pay attention to the fact that, look, there's somebody out there that wants you to do well, nobody wants you to waste your time. Okay, talk to me. You get to an event to speak, and you think that everybody's seated down there for you to bore them? Oh, come on. Somebody wants to do it. Somebody wants to get value. Somebody wants his time to be valuable. He doesn't want to waste his time. So in speaking, realize that there was somebody out there that wants you to do it. And you know, interesting thing, you can actually identify them by scanning the room. When you scan the room, you look at the person, you identify the person, and from his gaze, from his look at you, you can quickly know that this person is interested in what I'm talking about. So it doesn't really have to do, it does have nothing to do with the heads of people. No, don't look at the heads of people. No. Let's look at another myth. Okay, this is another myth people say. Public speaking is not for people like me. Huh? How can you say public speaking is not for people like you? Please, who are you? If you're a businessman, you will speak in public. If you're a politician, you will speak in public. If you're a pastor, you will speak in public. Even if you're doing IT, oh no, I'm a technical guy, I want to stand before I do computer stuff, I don't have time to speak. One day you will need funding from investors, and then you will have to pitch. You see, you're a church person, at some point you need to share testimony. One way or the other, public speaking will come to you, or you will come to public speaking. You cannot run away from public speaking. And to really make progress, you need to pay attention to public speaking. In fact, your growth in life, when you start up the corporate ladder, right there at the lower rung of life, here's what you notice, that there's so much emphasis on your technical expertise, how good you are technically. But if you're going to rise up the corporate ladder, really rise up the corporate ladder as a speaker, or as an individual, in whatever sphere, in whatever endeavor, you would really need to improve your ability to communicate, because the more you communicate, your chances of going higher is a lot. So public speaking is for you, yes, for you, and you can learn it. You can learn it. And if you do learn it, you get a whole lot going for you. It's for you. Yes, for you. It's for you. If I can learn public speaking, you can learn public speaking. You know one thing public speaking will do for you? It'll boost your confidence. It boosts your confidence. You notice that anywhere you go to, because you can speak, you would have so much confidence. And and a vast majority of people are hampered by the malady of inferiority complex. A vast majority of people are hampered by that malignant disease called inferiority complex. And you want to not be among the mass of people who are hampered by that malignant disease. I call it malignant because you see, when you don't have confidence, there's very little you can do in the world. And the beautiful thing about communication is that communication has universal appeal. You can go anywhere and you will be relevant and significant because you have learned public speaking. So it is for you. Let's look at another very myths, another myth that we want to debunk. Let's debunk some myths now, debunking myths, and we'll look at a few of them. But let's look at one more, and that is that this is something that it also affects me, and it's a myth that you must cover all your points in your presentation. No. Oftentimes you have a speech, you have a presentation, and they told you at that event that you have 1 hour to speak. Well, you're excited. Okay, 1 hour, I'll do it. And then you come for that event. And they now tell you, bros, sorry, you have no more 1 hour. It's now 20 minutes. And then when you are speaking, 15 minutes into the presentation, they begin to tell you to round off. Has it ever happened to you before? It happened to me severally. So, and then you get angry when you're done with the presentation. You're like, I should have spoken some more. I had so many things to say. And so, my brothers and my sisters, you don't have to cover your. Sure that you bring your best point forward. Oftentimes when we're speaking, we want to talk about our great points after. No, bring your best point forward. Let your points be your first points. That's how to wow the audience, because you see, that's your opener. Your opener is supposed to wow the audience. Let your best point be your first point. Let people be excited. In fact, because your best point is your first point, they could give you some extra time. Because you are sharing your best thoughts, your greatest thoughts, your keenest thoughts, your most intelligent thoughts, people are like, wow, let's have some more. Have people spoken before somewhere and they're telling you, some more, we want more, don't stop. Because your best point was your first point. Make sure to do that. You don't have to cover all your points. Now, one of the things we do in my school, in public speaking school, both online and offline, and by the way, we have a public speaking school in Lagos and in New York. Students who are joining, we tell them, do 5 minutes presentation. Now, if you're a network marketer, you're a salesperson, you're a business person, and you have a group of people you're working with, I often will tell you this. Pay attention now. Teach them to do 5 minutes. Teach them to do 5 minutes, a chunk of 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a long time. You give somebody an assignment to do a 5 minute presentation, and you just realize that he has said nothing. All of the substance he has said in 5 minutes is just 1 minute. Everything that he has said in 5 minutes is just 1 minute. No substance. So what we tell people, my students, to do is concentrate your 5 minutes. We call it the 5 minute strategy. Concentrate, speak for 5 minutes very well with your opener and your close. Do it so well. Let us assess you. Let people have a wow experience listening to you for 5 minutes. If I'm listening to you on radio, on television, 5 minutes is a lot of time. So let people have a wow experience listening for 5 minutes. Now, if you can do 5 minutes well, you can now stretch it to 7 minutes, and then stretch it to 10 minutes. So when you come to our public speaking school, we don't tell you keep ranting on. No, no, no. We say do 5 minutes. Say 5 minutes too short. Do 5 minutes so well that we want to give you more time. Does it make any sense? So you don't have to cover all your presentation. You know, make sure that you give quality information. As a matter of fact, we tell people in public speaking that if you cover 3 to 5 points in your presentation, that's fine. When you overload people with so much ideas, so many ideas, they may not take home. The idea basically in public speaking is that people should have take homes. Yeah, that thought and say, wow, this is good. I'm going to use this for much more. So this is very, very important. This is very vital. Please pay attention to that. All right, we're looking at some myths. For those of those joining us, we're looking at myths that we're debunking myths in public speaking. And please, when you come to class like this, don't be passive. Don't just take down notes, because what we're giving you is so much value. We're giving value. We're looking at myths and we're debunking those myths in public speaking. Now, let me tell you another thing that is important. It's a myth. Is you must be funny. Or you must be a comedian, or you must be funny to be an MC. No, no. As a matter of fact, I'd rather have an MC that is not funny than an MC that is funny. Because you see, when it comes to MCing, what's more important is not necessarily humor, but honor. Honor is giving preference in MCing than humor. And some people take humor. Now, is humor bad? No, humor is not bad. But some people take humor to the extreme at the expense of honor. What the MC is called to do is to organize the events in such a way that people can be honored, and there is order, and there is sequence, and everybody's getting to learn stuff. So humor should not precede honor, or should not gain ascendancy over honor. Honor is a priority in MCing. In the same way, when you're speaking, you are not supposed to be too humorous. I mean, just say a few jokes here and there, and that's cool. Don't go to humor. Let humor come to you. Now, I've said this about people who speak in public. So you want to start, and because you see Pastor Joel Austin. I don't know if you know Joel Austin. Pastor Joel Austin is a pastor or senior pastor of what's that church again? Can't remember right now. It's off my head. But it's a mega pastor, Lakewood in America. And you know, usually if you listen to his videos or watch his programs, he will start off with some humor, and everybody will laugh, and then and it's okay because Joel Austin does that. I'm going to do that in my presentation. What if that doesn't work? Do not start with humor, because your opening is sensitive. You lose your audience, or you gain your audience with your opening. So don't start with humor. Don't. You can bring humor in the middle, and if you bring humor in the middle of the presentation and it doesn't work, you can move ahead and go ahead with the presentation. So the beginning, the opening part of your presentation should be more engaging. A quote, a story, protocol, I mean quotations, whatever statistic you want to do, but do not start with humor so you don't mess up your opening. Alright, so you must not be funny to make a good MC or to be a good public speaker. Being funny is an additional. It will help you, but it's not as important as you think. All right, we're going to look at 3 more, and then we'll call it a wrap for today, because we're just learning a few things. I'll make some announcements subsequently. All right, now this is one that is another myth. The myth is that you have to be extrovert to command audience attention. George Asian is not an extrovert. If I go to an event, I'm most likely going to be seated down quietly. You'll be shocked. Is that not George? Quietly and calmly. George Asian is not you don't need the extroverted personalities, as it were, or the sanguine or choleric personality or temperament, as it were, for you to command attention. I mean, many of you know Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was melancholic. Melancholic is a temperament. You know, he's reserved, he's calm, but he's creative. You would see him outside, and he can't do compelling interviews with people. But when he's on stage, when he's in his zone, when he's speaking, he gets into character. He becomes a lot more charismatic, very confident, and so on and so forth. And you're like, wow, is that the same guy I saw downstage or backstage? He's different, you know. So I know many extroverted people who or introverted people who make amazing speakers. I know people who are extroverted who are lousy. And oftentimes I listen to people and I'm like, this guy is lousy, I don't want to hear him. Because your voice has to be pleasant, and they're so loud and so noisy in their presentation, and it doesn't get across to me confident. So some people, you'll be surprised, like the calmer, more reserved person. So don't say that you must be extroverted for you to command attention or for you to get the audience. Public speaking has nothing to do with personality type, and pay attention to this. However, there is an aura you must carry. There is an aura, there's an air, an atmosphere. I said that last time I was speaking about, was it last time? It was somebody spoke about the air. There's an air you must carry, and every speaker has an air. So, and it comes from the dressing, your tonal delivery, it comes from the way you move your body. Even if you're standing in a spot, you've got to carry air. You must be conscious of the air around you, the atmosphere, the aura, the magnetic flux around you. Because that magnetic flux is your instrument or your quality of influence. It's what influences people. And so you must be careful about that. All right, so let's move on to another very, very important myth. This is important too. This is so, so important. And many speakers make mistakes in this area. I'll tell you what it is. That you must speak like a well-known speaker to be effective. So you have gotten all of George Asian audio materials. A lot of you buy. I want to appreciate those that purchase. You get materials of George Asian, you get of Pastor Chris or Yakilome or David or Yudipo, those are pastors, or you get Les Brown, or you get Tony Robbins, or you get Eric Wall, or any of these speakers that you like, and or Sam Adeyemi, or Fela Durotoye, or whoever. You just get the materials, and then you know what you now do? You start to want to speak like, or TD Jakes. How many of you have heard people try to speak like TD Jakes? That's quite clownish. It's very clownish. To imitate somebody is clownish. You can never be number one trying to be somebody else. You always be number two. You were born an original, don't die a photocopy. Your imitation is your limitation. What you imitate, you're limiting yourself every time you imitate. Try and be yourself. Find your own voice, your own style. I mean, it doesn't mean you cannot learn. It doesn't mean you cannot copy some strategies, in a way. I'm trying to balance it because there are some things you need to learn, maybe mannerisms and movement, but the actual delivery should be mixed with your style. People should be able to hear you speak, and so that is George speaking. I know his voice. You don't want to sound like somebody else. So become as natural as you can be. Become as great. Be yourself as a speaker. I don't teach you how to speak in a sense. I only show you tools and strategies and tactics and techniques. I don't teach you how to open your voice and speak. No, I just tell you, do this, do this, do this. Okay, you did your sequence is this way. Why don't you restructure? Why don't you do it this other way? Or you started this in this way. You started with a story. Why don't you start with protocol? Or why don't you start with an icebreaker? Or why don't you start with statistics? Okay, what's your opening combo? I don't like the way you're doing your opening combo. Why don't you combine this and this to get this? And then, or maybe you close and say, I don't like the way you close. Your close should be in this pattern or in this fashion. Or maybe you're moving your transition. I'm like, I don't like how you're moving from one point to another. So that's what basically I do. And sometimes I can pay attention to your gap fillers. Your gap fillers are quite much. Gap fillers are the all of that. So I don't like your gap fillers. Get those things out. Try and be deliberate. Or you're not using pauses sufficiently enough, or you're doing too much of pauses. Or I could be teaching you many other things: the structure, the content, the viability of your content, your persuasive elements, the structure of the words you're using, because even words itself, the words you use, the labels you apply, your labels and the words you're using have effect on people. I'm showing you all of that, but I'm not teaching you what to say particularly. All right? Does it make any sense? So you've got to copy, but find your style. You don't have to speak like a great speaker to speak well. Find your style, learn some techniques, and move on. We have one more to go. Do we? We have one more to go. Let me see, we have one more to go. Yeah. Okay, we have two more to go. I like to mention this too. Let me look at the next one. The next one, okay, it's a common myth. It's a common myth. A lot of people say this. Public speaking is a gift to. There are some people that are born with it. No, man. No, sir. Public speaking, even if some people are naturally born with the gift of the gap, they still need to hone that skill or that polish that gift, make it finer. there are different public settings. You see some guys, they're amazing preachers. They can preach. Their oratory is outstanding. They stand in public and everybody's enamored. Everybody's flabbergasted. Everybody's overwhelmed. Everybody's mesmerized by their dazzling speeches. I mean, they know how to play with words. They know how to do rhymes. And you're like, oh, this is good. This is good. This guy is naturally born with the gift of the gap and all that. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Take him to another setting. In that setting, in that context, he made so much sense. Take him to another setting, and he's not able to do well. And wondering, is it not the same guy who was so eloquent in this other setting? Why is he not being eloquent in this setting? You see? So public speaking is not necessarily a gift. I'll give you a typical example so you can connect. Pastors. A pastor is preaching. He preaches so well, and you're like, whoa, this guy is good. Then he has to do something about the funeral. He's supposed to give an eulogy. And you're wondering, why? Why is he sounding like that? Or he's supposed to do, I said an eulogy, he's supposed to receive an award. Or he's supposed to be a guest of honor in a corporate function. Or he's supposed to give a speech in TEDx. Or he's supposed to give a speech in front of the United Nations. And he's not able to do that razzmatazz, that jumping around like he does in church setting, in ECOWAS or in TEDx. So you see, it's at the end of the day, public speaking is not just the gift of oratory. It's a skill. It's knowing how to speak in different settings, because life will bring you into different communities and different receive an award and accept an award, how to give a valedictory speech, how to give an eulogy, knowing how to give a pitch, knowing how to give a lecture, deliver a paper, knowing how to preach in church. There was a language, there's a pattern in church. If for those of you who watch my videos and you sit in church, when you hear me in church, I sound a little different. There's even a way to do videos. You see some folks, they are very good in the podium, very good on the podium, but when they come to this kind of setting, Facebook Live or Instagram Live or Zoom, they are not able to effectively communicate. Different rules, regulations, techniques, strategies there, you need to master each of them. And that's why public speaking is learned. It's not just a gift. Does it make sense to you? You don't have to. You don't have to be natural. You cannot be natural. You've got to. It takes hard work. I spent hours. I mean, I was surprised the other day. I was listening to Les Brown. Les Brown is a world-renowned speaker. World-renowned speaker. I have a lot of his audio materials. Great guy, great inspirational guy. He's 75, just became 75 sometime this year. Amazing guy. He's made so much impact in the motivational speaking industry. And I was listening to him, and I was shocked when he said that even as a speaker, he practices before the mirror. The mirror, we have two tools in public speaking. I think I've told you that before. The first tool in public speaking that you have is your recorder. You use a recorder to check out for gap fillers, correct pronunciations, make sure that your grammar is good and all that. You use a recorder or a video. And the next kind of tool you need in public speaking is a mirror. You use the mirror to check out your body language, your facial expressions, and all of that. So he still uses, Les Brown still uses the mirror to practice. So it doesn't matter how good you are, you've got to practice and practice and practice and practice. In fact, the day you stop practicing speaking, you get rusty. You practice your lines, you internalize your lines. You do mental rehearsals in your mind's eye. You begin to create scenarios. You begin to preempt, anticipate what may happen in the audience. I mean, I've gone for an event before, and all of a sudden, actually was the time I was thinking I was supposed to do emceeing for weddings, and I often tell people, I say, look, at some point you know what you do. I don't MC weddings. I don't take invitation for MC weddings, and I don't even take them anymore. I do presentation and teaching. But there was a time when I grew up, when I was trying to get myself together, I was trying to put some money in my pocket. I'll MC some weddings because I had a few ideas about relationships. So some guys would invite me for weddings, and one of those days at the wedding ceremony, the generator went bad. So what do you do in that kind of situation? Nothing worked. Hey? Meanwhile, yours truly had not prepared internally, had not rehearsed, and so I began to sweat. I began to say, hey guy, this guy, you're going to mess up this event, and guess what, they had paid me. So I got out my notes, I started to think. Oh, sorry for that network bridge. So, and I was going to do 1 hour. And I'd lost. I'm like, hey, this thing isn't working. But so it's very important that you the lines, rehearse everything, anticipate, do mental rehearsals, use the mirror, use the recorder, use warm water, rehearse. For every presentation I do like 10, 20 rehearsals. And I chunk my rehearsals. I'm not going to do the entire rehearsal. I'm going to do my opening style, my closing style. I'm going to do the transition. I'm going to internalize my quotes. I'm going to tell my story. Most of you don't know that there's a way to tell a story in speaking. I'm going to tell the story to myself. I'm going to tell the story to people, my family. Tell the story, do it again. I become perfected. So public speaking is a work of nurture, not a work of nature. You didn't write that down. Public speaking is a work of nurture, not a work of nature. So you're not born, you have to work on it again and again. And so, the last thing we'll talk about today, that will help you, that debunks, one of those debunking, those myths we need to debunk. And I want you to pay attention to this one. It's the last one. And this is so interesting. You don't have to be nervous. You don't have to be nervous when you speak. Says who? There is no speaker. Mark my word. No speaker. It doesn't matter who he is. Who is going to an unfamiliar audience. Maybe if it is his church, he's very confident he can hold the mic and speak. But there is hardly any speaker who is speaking to a crowd that is not aware of, who won't have that initial jitters. The difference is that they know how to reduce it. They have techniques, they have tools, they have strategies, mental strategies, and actual strategies they use to reduce that intensity so that when you see them, you do not notice it. Yes, you can be nervous, but you must not mouth the nervousness, because some people say, they'll climb the stage and say, I'm shy, please pardon. You hear it in their voice. No. You want to mute that, and you want to project more personality. So you can be nervous, but control and manage your fear. And that's why we're putting together a Zoom class that will teach you. Put together a Zoom class. We're going to put together a Zoom class that will teach you how to manage your fears. How to really manage your fears in public speaking, and how to become a more effective speaker. That will help you how to develop the confidence, the science of it, the art of speaking, and what to take yourself to. So we have looked at some myths. Can we just go over them? I'm not going to go over them in particular order. I'm just going to randomly share them, because I've looked at 10 myths today, and I'll just say them as they come along. The first one is one of those myths we said you have to debunk, is that you have to be flawless or perfect. There's nothing like perfection in public speaking. Keep doing your thing. Keep getting better by trying again and again. We also said something nervous. That's a myth. No, you can be nervous, but master your fear and reduce your fear. We also said something about memorizing your speech, and we said something about memorizing your speech. We said something about memorizing your speech. We said that you want to rather internalize your speech than memorize your speech. And we said something about public speaking is not for people like me. Come on. At some point in your life, you will need to speak in public. We also said another myth that people, when you are debunking, is that you must cover your entire presentation. No, do 3, 4, 5 points. And we also said that it must be funny to be a public speaker. No, sir, you don't have to be funny to be a public speaker. And we also said something about public speaking is a gift. No. It's not a gift per se. You can have that eloquent ability, but you need to develop the public speaking skill in different settings. And then we also said something about that you must imitate speakers. You must imitate well-known speakers to speak well. No, sir, it doesn't work that way. And then we also finally said that you must be an extrovert to command an audience, and we debunked all of that. I hope we debunked them. We also said you must look over the heads of people. Well, rather you should connect to people through their eyes, because your eyes communicates value. So thank you guys for being part of this class today. I'd like you especially to get some of our materials. We have an audio we call Public Speaking Made Easy. It will help you focus on 10 areas you need to focus on in public speaking. And we also talk a whole lot about a training that is coming up sometime before the end of the month. I'm going to put out the date right now when I'm done with this video, and that date is about, and the focus basically is on how to overcome stage fright. How to overcome stage fright. You need to know the science of this. It will help you, and it's actually a paid class. It's a paid class on Zoom and WhatsApp. Paid class on Zoom and WhatsApp. You want to join that class? It's 2,000 naira. Very little will expose you to a lot of ideas, and I'm going to post that stuff right now on this. And for those of you who want to get some of our materials aside this, you can also we have what they call speech power. Speech power is amazing. I'm working on the videos right now. I've been doing some videos in a few days, and then we also have 14 videos already done on public speaking. By the time you watch these videos and practice them with the assignments we give in those videos, you turn out to be an amazing speaker you're supposed to be. Next week Monday, we said that throughout the month of May we're doing money. We're talking about money. Next week Monday we'll be continuing our series on money, and we're talking about creative fundraising. We're looking at some other areas in about making money, and you don't want to miss it for anything. All right, thank you Idara Akban, thank you Jaswil for joining us, thank you Yetunde Alice for your comments, thank you for Subi Le Marie. I guess you are in Port Harcourt and you're from Bayelsa. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate your comments. Thank you Idara, thank you. An informed Ubon Colonel is watching. Amazing. Strong woman. Widow, thank you for reaching out. Ubon Ikpe is also watching. Anekan Upabio. Queen Damina. Queen Daima. Okay, Daima. Okay, Queen Daima. It's good to know you're watching. Live Skit Udo. Thank you guys. Share this. Get people to join this class because we're giving so much value in the coming days. I'll see you next week, Wednesday, when we look at a fresh topic on public speaking. God bless you.